Hello guys! Welcome back to my YouTube channel. So for today's video, we will discuss another topic under cost accounting, which is process costing. So let's start. Okay, so before anything else, let's first define what is process costing. So process costing is a system of accumulating cost of production by department. Normally, this costing system is being employed by a manufacturing firm that produces homogeneous products, and the process of production is standardized. Meron po yung sinusunod na template, pare-parehas po ang production process natin. Then at the same time, the production process is continuous. So as you can see, kabaliktaran lang yun ng job order cost system natin, kasi sa job order, ang pinoproduce nating product ay heterogeneous, then by specification ng customer. At the same time, hindi continuous ang production, kasi kapag natapos ang specific job, tapos na din po yung trabaho natin for job specific job. So, ang example ng manufacturing firm na nag-i-employ ng process costing is, let's say for example, production of shampoo, production of pencil, or kaya naman ng bond paper. So, basta po ang product natin ay homogeneous, tapos ang production ay standardized, ibig sabihin pare-parehas po yung production from one product to another, kasi nga homogeneous yan. At the same time, continuous. So, ibig sabihin hindi po yan nag-i-stop. So, every day meron pong production. So, every week, then every month, hanggang every year. So, continuous siya until such time na matitigil na yung production ng specific product na to. So, kapag ang isang manufacturing firm ay nag-fall under that category, ganyan yung process. So, dapat ang gagamitin po nating costing method will be process costing. Okay, so before we discuss the differences between job order costing and process costing, so let's first discuss their similarities. So job order and process costings are similar with regards to the element of its manufacturing cost. Then the cost accumulation is also similar, and also the flow of inventory. So as we all know, since we are dealing with manufacturing firm, so yung mga cost na na-incur natin dyan ay parehas lang naman. So nagkaka-incur tayo ng direct materials, nag-incur din tayo ng direct labor, at the same time ng factory overhead. So ibig sabihin, yung content ng manufacturing cost natin ay parehas lang for both job order and process costing. At the same time, yung cost accumulation wherein we are charging this manufacturing cost to the production ay parehas lang din naman ng ating entry, di ba? Let's say for example, kung mag-i-issue tayo ng materials sa production, so sa job order tsaka process costing, parehas lang yung journal entry na ginagamit natin, wherein we debit work in process and we credit raw materials when we issued raw materials to production. And with regards to direct labor, ganun parehas lang din po ang ating entry, wherein we debit work in process, then credit lang tayo ng payroll. Then sa factory overhead, same lang din naman kapag gumagamit tayo ng normal costing, so we debit WIP and credit applied factory overhead for both job order and process costing. At the same time, with regards to the flow of inventory, parehas lang din po yan. So, una, manggagaling muna yan sa raw materials, then isi-send yan dun sa production wherein magiging part ng work in process inventory, then kapag natapos, magiging part ng ating finished goods inventory. So, as a whole, parehas lang po sila with regards to manufacturing cost element, cost accumulation, and flow of inventory. Okay, since we already discussed the similarities between job order system and process costing, so let's now proceed sa kanila namang differences. Actually, one of the major difference of job order costing system from the process costing is the maintenance of the work in process inventory account. Although, as we discussed dun sa prior slide, na yung inventory flow natin ay parehas lang for both method. So, from raw materials, ita-transfer natin yan kay work in process. Sa work in process, dyan natin tina-transfer. Dyan natin pinoproduce ang product mismo. Then, kapag natapos, nilalagay natin sa finished goods inventory. Tapos, pag nabenta, nilalagay natin sa cost of goods sold. However, with regards to the maintenance of work in process, magkaiba po sila. So, as a review doon sa ating job order costing system, kung ang control account natin ay work in process, so yung work in process na yan ay nahati yan into number of jobs. So, ibig sabihin, isang job, may sarili siyang work in process account. So, let's say for example, meron tayong 3 jobs. So, meron tayong work in process for job number 1, job number 2, and we also have for job number 3. So, for each job, ang subsidiary ledger, ang tawag po natin doon ay job cost sheet. So sa job natin, diyan natin nilalagay lahat ng manufacturing cost bago natin yan i-transfer dun sa finished goods inventory. So let's say for example, we have job 1, job 2, and job 3. So basically, dito natin tinatransform yung raw materials into finished goods. So nag-incur tayo dyan ng mga manufacturing costs such as the direct materials, direct labor, and the factory overhead, which is the manufacturing cost. So basically, kapag natapos natin ang production on each job, automatic dinideliver natin yan dun sa ating finished goods inventory. So let's say for example, natapos si job 1, so ililipat niya lang agad yan dun sa finished goods inventory. Since si job 2, ganun din, ililipat din niya sa FG inventory at the same time si job 3. So kung mapapansin nyo, straightforward lang or straight pababa lang ang ating flow. Wherein from raw materials, i-deliver natin yan per job. Then kapag natapos natin yung per job, ililipat natin sa finished goods inventory. So wala pong nangyayaring pasahan between jobs. So hindi unique po ang job from one another. Okay, so proceed naman tayo sa process costing. So sa process costing, ang ating pong work in process inventory ay nahati yan into number of department. So, pag sinabi nating department from the word itself, process costing, so ibig sabihin po, meron yan chain effect. So, hindi po pwedeng mag-manufacture si department number 2 kapag wala pang nanggagaling na materials or units from department number 1. Kasi nga, process yung sinusunod natin, continuous at the same time standard. So, let's say for example, sa department 1, nandiyan ang cutting. Sa department 2, nandiyan yung assembling. Sa department 3, nandiyan yung finishing. So, ibig sabihin, lahat ng product manggagaling sa Department 1, then kapag natapos sa Department 1, itra-transfer natin sa Department 2, then sa Department 3. So, let's say for example, yung Department 3, this is the last department. Okay? So, sa process costing, ang subsidiary account ng work in process ay hindi po nating tatawagin na job cost sheet kasi nga, hindi naman to per job, kasi nga per department. So, ang term na ginagamit natin for the subsidiary account for the process costing as far as the work in process inventory is concerned is what we call the cost of production report. So, just to give you a background, kasi later i-discuss naman natin to in details. So, let's say for example, ang ating process, department number 1 muna. So, ibig sabihin, yung raw materials, i-deliver natin kay department number 1. Tapos, tatapusin niya yung process dun sa department number 1. So, let's say for example, ang department number 1 is yung cutting department. So, ipapadala dyan yung mga manufacturing cost, di ba? Or yung ating raw materials. So, meron tayo dyang direct materials, direct labor, and the factory overhead. Same with department number 2, magkakaroon din siya ng sarili niyang manufacturing cost such as direct materials, direct labor, and the factory overhead. Then, at the same time, si department number 3. What is unique in process costing is that, so kung ano man yung matatapos na department 1, hindi po yan itatransfer agad-agad sa finished goods inventory. So sa process costing, meron tayong term na tinatawag which is what we call the transferred out. So transferred out, para lang din siyang cost of goods manufactured, pero ginagamit natin yung term na transferred out kapag ang papasahan natin ay kapwa niya work in process inventory account, which is si department number 2. So, kung si Department 1, mag-i-issue siya ng kanyang product or yung kanyang units produced to the Department number 2, instead of using cost of goods manufactured, ang gagamitin niyang term ay transferred out. So, yung transferred out ni Department number 1, that will be the transferred in of Department number 2. Kasi nga, sequence yan. So, kung ano yung ilalabas ni Department number 1, ay yun naman yung matatanggap ni Department number 2. So, that will be called transferred in and it will be added dun sa kanyang sariling manufacturing cost. Okay? So, i-add nyo lang yung manufacturing cost saka yung transferred in. Then, kapag natapos naman yung production sa department number 2, so magkakaroon din siya ng sarili niyang transferred out. Yung transferred out na yan, i-deliver niya ulit yan kay department number 3 kapag natapos na yung kanyang process dun mismo sa kanyang department. So, yung transferred out ni department number 2, magiging transferred in naman ni department number 3. So, in this case, so let's say for example, si department number 3 is the last department. So, kapag natapos na yung production sa department number 3, this is the only time na pwede nating isend yung kanyang natapos na product doon sa ating finished goods inventory. So, pwede na natin gamitin yung term na cost of goods manufactured. So, as you can see, the only difference of job order and process costing is how the cost is being transferred to finished goods inventory. Kasi sa job cost sheet, diretso lang siya pababa. So, from raw materials to each job, then diretso sa finished goods inventory. While sa process costing, it undergoes sa maraming process wherein mapupunta muna siya sa department number 1, then sa department number 2, department number 3, at ultimately magiging part yan sa finished goods inventory. So basically, this is one of the major difference between job order costing and process costing with regards to the maintenance of the work in process inventory. Okay, so let's discuss another difference between process and job order, which is actually the determination of the total cost. So sa job order, nade-determine natin ang total cost when the job is completed. However, in process costing, kailangan nating i-determine ang total cost each time na magkakaroon po tayo ng tinatawag natin na reporting period. So ang reporting period pwede yan maging annually, semi-annually, quarterly, or kaya naman yung pinaka ginagamit is yung monthly para onti lang yung data. Okay? Sa job order costing system, however, when the reporting period comes earlier, so pwede naman natin ma-determine yung total cost pero hindi pa yun yung pinaka-final cost niya kasi papasahan pa siya ng cost on the next period. So, ibig sabihin, sa job order, when the job is completed, or kaya naman, when the reporting period, whichever comes earlier. Okay? So, another difference between job order and process costing is actually the computation of the unit cost. Sa job order, madali lang natin makompute ang unit cost kasi ang gagawin nyo lang, kuhain nyo lang yung total goods placed in process, which is the total cost, and divide nyo lang doon sa number of units still in production, if still in the work in process. Then kapag na-send na natin yan sa finished good is doon sa ating units produced. So, ang computation lang natin, total cost divided by units produced. Ang numerator natin is total cost. So, yung total cost na yan, ito yung ating beginning inventory plus the manufacturing cost. Then, yung units produced, ito yung ating natapos. So, kapag natapos na natin, ang gagamitin natin ay units produced. Kapag hindi pa natatapos, units still in process. Diba? Sa process costing, hindi natin pwedeng gamitin yon as is kasi nga, continuous yung production. So meaning, from time to time, nagpapasa ng unit si Department 1 to Department 2, then the Department 3 until dun sa ating finished goods inventory. Although the computation is the same, which is the total cost divided by the units produced, kailangan po nating mag-isipan kung magkano ba, kung ilang units ba yung ilalagay natin dun sa ating denominator. Kasi at the end of the day, meron pong natitirang units doon sa ating work in process inventory na hindi natin natatransfer doon sa kabilang department. So, because of that, under process costing, instead of using units produced as is doon sa ating, which is yung ginagamit natin sa job order, sa process costing, gumagamit po tayo ng ibang terminology, which is the equivalent unit of production. So, i-discuss natin yan sa next slide. Okay, so let's discuss the equivalent unit of production. So, equivalent unit of production, as I mentioned earlier, this will be used as our denominator para makompute ang unit cost on each reporting period. So, equivalent unit of production is an expression of an amount of work done by a manufacturer on units of output that are partially completed at the end of accounting period. Basically, the fully completed units and partially completed units are expressed in terms of completed units. So, meron tayo ditong illustration para mas madali natin siyang maintindihan. So, let's say for example, we have two items left in the production wherein they are 50% completed. So, ibig sabihin, 50% completed, 50% not yet complete. Diba? So, under the concept of equivalent unit of production, so, 2 half-completed products are equivalent to 1 completed product. So, basically, pagsasamahin mo lang yung kanilang mga pagkukulang. So, ibig sabihin, 1 half plus 1 half is equal to 1 completed goods. So, lumalabas dahil 50% completed yung isa, tapos yung isa ay 50% completed din. So, pag pinagsama po natin sila, as if nakakabuo tayo ng isang 1 completed good. So, tinawag lang siyang equivalent kasi in reality, hindi naman pa talaga tapos yung dalawang product na to. As if lang na kapag pinagsama mo sila, kompleto na nakakabuo tayo ng isang goods. Kaya nga siya tinawag na equivalent unit of production. So, another example. So, let's say for example, we have 10,000 units. However, these units are only 60% completed. So, ang tinatanong, how much is the unit equivalent unit of production? So, based dun sa pinag-usapan natin sa taas, so iti-treat natin as if yung 60% ng 10,000 units are already completed. So lumalabas, although each item or each unit is not yet completed, pero as far as the equivalent unit of production is concerned, so meron na po tayong 6,000 equivalent unit of production. Kasi parang lumalabas, each item ay 60% completed, so i-add mo lang sila lahat. So pag in-add mo yan, 0.60 times 10,000, makukuha po natin yung equivalent unit of production, which is 6,000 units. So yung 6,000 units na yan, this will be used as our denominator in order to compute the value of the ending inventory ng ating WIP, diba? Yan. So let's have another example. So ito medyo damihan natin, diba? So let's say for example, for the current period, Tom started 15,000 units and completed 10,000 units, leaving 5,000 units in process. However, yung 5,000 na yon is only 40% completed. So ang tinatanong, how many equivalent units of production did Tom have for that specific period? So as I mentioned earlier, ang concept ng equivalent unit of production, pagsasama-samahin nyo yung mga partially completed items para makabuo ka ng completed item. So in this case, meron tayong dalawang portion ng equivalent unit of production. Yung number 1, yung completed item, yung number 2, yung partially completed items, di ba? So pero before that, computing muna natin magkano ba ang i-account natin na units. So in this case, nag-start si Tom ng 15,000 units. So out of 15,000 units, 10,000 were already completed. So dahil completed na yung 10,000 na yan, straightforward lang yung computation ng equivalent unit of production. So dahil nga complete naman yan, so ibig sabihin 10,000 times 100%. So therefore, the equivalent unit of production as far as the completed item are concerned is also 10,000 units. On the second part, so meron daw natirang 5,000 doon sa ating inventory. So yung 5,000 na daw na yon, 40% completed lang siya. So lumalabas, kung ang hahanapin natin na equivalent unit of production, simply multiply 5,000 times 40%. So ibig sabihin, equivalently, so kung natapos lang sana yung, kapag pinagsama-sama natin yung 5,000 na yan, which is 40% completed, makakabuo tayo ng 2,000 na units. So in this case, ang hinahanap natin ay equivalent unit of production. You just need to add the equivalent unit of production of the completed item and the equivalent unit of production of the partially completed items. So basically, in this example, ang ating equivalent unit of production will be 12,000 pesos. So para makuha ulit ang unit cost, kuhain mo lang yung total cost. Kapag meron na tayong total cost, which is yung ating manufacturing cost, or kung may beginning, isama nyo, then i-divide nyo lang doon sa ating equivalent unit of production to get the unit cost for that specific period. So, yun po yung konsepto ng equivalent unit of production at ito ang gagamitin lagi natin kapag tayo ay nagko-compute ng ipapasa natin doon sa ating next department, which will be transferred out, tapos magiging transferred in ng next department. Ultimately, kung magkano yung cost na itatransfer ng last department doon sa ating finished goods, which will be part of the cost of goods manufactured and part ng ating finished goods inventory. So, kapag nagkamali tayo ng computation na equivalent unit of production, magmamali na po yung cost na tita-transfer natin from one department to another, ultimately sa finished goods. Kaya po crucial na malaman natin ang concept na equivalent unit of production before we can proceed dun sa computation ng ating cost of goods sold report.